welcome our special guest today, Dex Lattimore, historian and economist. Welcome, Dex. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you, Dr. Pruitt?
Great. I'm great.
Great.
Well, that was an introduction that I've been waiting to give because this world is truly wicked, Dex. And as a
Mhm.
historian, I'm sure you've seen this in your studies before, or maybe you haven't. But tell us what's going on in the world and how can we shift things? But first, what is going on?
Absolutely. So we want to start with the good versus the evil, right? Or
Okay.
God versus devil, right? We look at the etymology of these words that we use to understand what's going on.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to use a lot of go into the Bible, the biblical perspective to understand. I look at the Bible not necessarily as a religious text, but as a historical text, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of the things when you talk about the Epstein files, they actually go further into the spiritual realm, right?
Mm,
A lot of the things, a lot of the practices that were being done and that have been done, not just by Epstein, but by the people in power at large, they
mm.
have been doing a lot of demonic rituals, right? And it goes back all the way into the biblical times where you can look at, for example, uh, the stories of Baal and Molech, right? These are ancient demons that have been implicated in the Epstein files. But it's really been going on again for millennia. It's been going on for thousands of years.
Yes. You know,
So
you excuse me.
I'm sorry,
You
go
talk
ahead.
about spiritual wickedness. I recall there is a scripture that says we fight against spiritual wickedness.
Right, exactly, exactly. And so when you look, for example, when you start in Genesis, the beginning, you look
Yes.
at the story of Genesis chapter 6, and it talks about the sons of God laying with the daughters of man.
Mhm.
And that's when the time of the giants and the Nephilim were on the earth. And these things, uh, when you look at the book of Enoch further explains how these, what they call the watchers or
Mhm.
these spiritual beings, their job was to watch over this planet.
Mm.
They, a group of them came together and formed a pact. And they said that they will come down to the earth to lay with the women and to defy what's going on here on the earth and to defy defy the people. And so from that we get a lot of the perversions that are going on today. You look at Hollywood. Hollywood, even the term Hollywood comes from the holly tree, which is where the witch's wand.
Yes.
That's where the witch's wand comes from, the holly tree.
Okay. Mm.
The word Los Angeles, right, is Spanish for the angels. But what angels are they referring to? Some would say that they're referring to the fallen angels.
I see.
And so then that's where a lot of wicked activities have been going on. And a lot of people have blindly accepted the things that are going on. The even the common people, right? The masses of people have accepted a lot of these things, some knowing and some unknowing. But when
Yes.
we look at the words of the songs of a lot of the artists, for example, right? You look at like Michael Jackson, the song Boogie. He has a line where he says something to the effect of "The devil's got into me," right?
Wow.
Blame it on the boogie, right?
Like a boogeyman.
Right, right,
What? Never thought
right.
of that.
Yeah. Um, uh, uh, what's his name? Kanye West has a song where he says, "I sold my soul to the devil. It was a crappy deal, but at least it came with some toys like a Happy Meal."
Mm.
Right. So people would hear these words and accept them and not understand that you're opening up your body, right? You're opening up your spirit to accept certain things.
I
right?
see.
We are vessels. And if you're not careful, you can allow for spirits to enter into you and be channeled. And then comes a lot of perversion, right? As spiritual beings, because we are spirit first, we have the choice. Everybody has a choice. The good and the evil is the duality of life.
I see.
So we have the choice to accept the good or the evil. But it's become very easy to accept evil and even to pervert it and to change it and call it good. So now we have accepted a lot of these things that they have been doing. Now today, Pandora's box has been opened by the Epstein files. And so now people are actually able to question all of the things that have been going on. Right.
Mm,
Initially, a few years ago, it would be easy to just write everything off as conspiracy theory,
that's true.
right? If you didn't like it or didn't want to accept it, you just call a person a conspiracist, and just like that, they could be written off, right? But they say the easiest thing to do in order to dismiss a person is to call them crazy, right? So a lot of people have been called crazy or labeled crazy, and then we wrote off their stories. A lot of people in Hollywood have admitted a lot of the things that have been going on, and they will be blackballed, blacklisted, or whatever the case. And the media would say, well, they're just crazy. And just like that, the rest of the population would easily say, well, agreed, they're crazy, they're on drugs. And just like that, you can dismiss them. Now, today, because of the Epstein files, people are having to look back and reinvestigate all of the things that were called crazy, all of the things that were called conspiracy theories, and have to find what was true in all of these things.
Before you go on, can I ask you a question about having a choice? Because I hear a lot of people say that they don't really have a choice. They don't have a choice about what they eat. They don't have a choice about what they think. It's almost like people are walking on autopilot. Do you really believe we have a choice in? Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes, everyone has a choice. It may be difficult to find the choices and to find the options. And in fact, they have made it very difficult, right? What they've done, for example, they've been doing things to calcify the pineal gland, right? To blur the third eye, what they call, or the first eye, as I would call it, right? We have this first eye, which we use to see into the spiritual realm, right? So when you tap into the spiritual realm and you look and you research for things, you can find that there are options. But again, it may be difficult to find these options, but that doesn't mean that you should not look just because it's hard.
Right. Do you believe that this paradigm or this reality into which we're going now that the Epstein files has been dumped, it's forcing people to look for alternative realities? I mean, look for something that's real, that's something that's benevolent or good.
Certainly, certainly.
Okay.
There has been like you said, a paradigm shift
Mm,
where truth is being sought out. Before, people didn't care to find the truth. They blindly accepted whatever was told to them to be true.
mm,
When we look at the schools, for example, the schools are training grounds. They are not there to instruct us, to enlighten us, to bring information and knowledge. They're there to give us information that we must accept. And from there, then you can be told what to do.
I see. Mm,
But now again, as you mentioned, people are challenging and have to challenge the information that we have been given, because we will find the more we search that there were a lot of lies that have been told to us.
It's like everything like it has been upside down, inside out, just tipsy turvy, perverted. That's the only word I
Hmm.
can think of.
Yes,
Everything. Yes.
absolutely. We even look at the language, all right? The language that we speak, the English language or the Roman languages, they took the Hebrew language, for example. The Hebrew language is written from right to left,
Mm.
all right? They perverted the languages. They turned the letters upside down and sideways and wrote it from left to right.
Mm.
You look at the ancient Egyptians and a lot of the other peoples of the world, they were actually left-handed,
Mm.
right? You in Egypt or Kemet, they say to put the left foot forward.
Yes.
When you look at the statues in Egypt, the left foot is forward. When you look at the European statues, the right foot is forward, right?
Mm.
During slavery, they forced the people to become right-handed. I don't know if you remember when we were in Ghana, we went to the King's Palace, and there were a lot of there was a lot of history on the walls.
Yes.
One of the things that was written that I read about was that you had to greet the king with your left hand because the left hand gives love versus the right hand is about war and anger
Wow. So the left hand, which side is your heart?
on the left side.
So you shake the king with your left hand, you put your left foot forward, you lead with your heart. That's deep. Wow. Mm.
Yeah, but like you said, things have been perverted. The language, right? We use now a language of spells and curses.
Yes.
So when you look at the word spelling, right? We're casting spells
Mm.
a lot of times unknowingly. You look at the curse words that are used; they're very not just vulgar, but they're perverse, right?
Yes.
MF or FU or GD,
Mm.
SOB,
Mm.
right? What does that actually mean? All right, so we're casting spells, we're saying things without actually understanding the interpretation of what we're saying. And now we have to challenge a lot of things that we do and that we say and that we see and hear. Because again, they put it right in front of us to accept it. And we put the screen in front of us and we openly accept what's going on, right? You look at the term entertainment.
Okay.
Everybody wants to be entertained. People don't want to take things, or at least didn't want to take things seriously. But it has been said that the etymology of the term entertainment, when you break the word down, it is enter and detain. So
Oh,
you
okay.
are detained while spirits enter you.
Profound. Mm.
Look at the movies that have been given to us.
Okay.
The a lot of movies are about witches and vampires, right? They're throwing it in our faces what they're doing. And we have been, again, we have been blind, right? The scales have been on our eyes for a long time. Now today the scales are being lifted. All right, we're in the age of Aquarius, as you mentioned before. So now there's the pouring of information, and now you really people don't even have an excuse anymore to say, "Well, I didn't know." If you don't know, it's because you choose not to know. But now we are in the age of know. You can know whatever you want. It's at the tip of your fingers. Now, just a simple Google search, and you can find all of these things. But the irony to me is that This information has been there the entire time. Again, Epstein is a piece of the puzzle, but he is not the entirety of the puzzle. He's not the full picture. He is just a small part of what has been going on before our eyes this entire time.
Before you move on, can I talk a little bit about the entertainment industry? What I notice is sometimes they will slip in perversion through comedy. If they can get you to laugh, they'll talk about perversion, they'll talk about inversion, they'll talk slip sex in the comedy, slip, they like talking about the bottom behind parts, and
Yes.
just to get you to laugh, and before you know it, you're participating
Yes.
in the perversion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
One of the reasons why they refer so much to the bottom is because it's part of their rituals,
Okay.
right? In the entertainment industry, there are three main rituals that occur: sodomy, sacrifice, and public humiliation.
Okay.
When you talk about the sodomy aspect, it has been said that, of course, the anus is actually connected from the spine to the brain.
Okay.
And with that, they are able to enter your body, go to your brain, and it opens up your body to the spirits, right? So they can use this to channel spirits into these entertainers, right? Look at the word idol, right? In the Bible, it talks about idols being false gods. Well, they've normalized the term idol
Sure did.
to where we call people our idols. And so now they've gotten people to blindly accept idol worship, not realizing you're not just worshiping or celebrating that artist or that performer that is on stage or on the camera. You're worshiping the entities that are inside of them. Many of the entertainers talked about what is it? I can't remember the term. Give me just a second. Alter egos.
They sure do.
Right? And
Beyonce and Sasha Fierce.
exactly. And they'll say they this is the reason why she, for example, stopped doing interviews, because she was given too much information. And people back then started to question what was really going on. A lot of her band members have come out and openly said that she practices witchcraft.
They sure do.
Right? You look at Erykah Badu, she calls herself a witch. And we have accepted these things, and they have made it to seem cool. Right? So now we have people, everyday people, that will call themselves witches or call themselves whatever, but it's perversion, right? And it's worshiping of entities that we have to really question. And so now it is time to question what is going on.
When we're channeling entities by participating in these rituals, watching comedy shows, watching movies, celebrating entertainers, somebody brought up American Idol. When we're entertaining, are you saying or alluding to the fact that these spirits then enter your body?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And then once those spirits enter your body, do they control your behavior or influence your behavior?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So when we look at what all of what's been going on in the country and in the world today, you look 100 years ago or 50 years ago, a lot of the things that are acceptable today were completely unacceptable just a few decades ago. Right? It's interesting. You look at Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She said many years ago, I think in the 70s, that they were trying to put our men in dresses. She said that the sagging is about taking off the pants and putting on the dresses. And so, again, she was laughed at, All right, she was called crazy. She was called a conspiracy theorist. And now today, many of the men who are artists are openly wearing dresses. And we are accepting it as normal when this is, in fact, not normal behavior.
Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, I'm not sure what her doctorate was in, which discipline, but I do know she wrote a book called The ISIS Papers. That is a very, very profound book. The woman was actually under the tutelage of, what's the gentleman's name? He wrote the compensatory, the racism. What was his name? Dr. Neely Fuller was her mentor. A profound lady. I would recommend people to read her book called The ISIS Papers, and you can find a lot of her lectures on YouTube as well. Yeah.
And you had mentioned that a lot of people have been stepping down.
Yes.
That's because they were in secret societies. Okay? All of these secret societies, obviously, they're very secretive. They don't let the mainstream people know what's going on. But even you look at the fraternities and the sororities, they get our children early. Soon as they leave the homes, they first tell you to leave your home, come to the college campus, live on campus, and then start into this organization that's going to advance your career. Yeah. And they will tell you, they'll promise you that you can move up, but it's important to join fraternities and sororities in order to advance in this society. So a lot of people have joined these groups, joined these fraternities and secret societies, and joined the Masonic Lodge, right? A lot of pastors, especially the mega pastors, are Freemasons.
Okay.
And so they don't mind lying to the congregation. All right. Even you look at the day of worship being Sunday. That was changed during the time of Constantine, because he was a worshiper of the sun god. And so they changed the day of worship to Sunday so that the people could give their energies to the sun god.
Do you remember which council that was where it happened, where they changed the day of worship?
The Council of Nicaea, I believe.
Yes, that sounds right. Yes.
Around 380.
Okay. Yes. So they changed or perverted the day of worship from the seventh day till Sunday. And it's interesting because now you're talking about it on the seventh day in the scriptures. If you're a Hebrew or Christian, the biblical God rested, right?
Right.
But people say you rest on the first day of the week. So that came from the Council of Nicaea. And I believe those were Roman emperors or Roman people. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of what we're following is from Rome. Even you look at the Bible again, you look at the Old Testament, you look at the stories of Jesus, and then you fast forward to Paul. Paul actually went against what Jesus said. Right.
You're
Paul
the only
said,
pastor, excuse me, because you were a young pastor. A lot of this you've been talking about for years in your early 20s. You were the only pastor I ever heard said you were not a fan of Paul. Can you explain why?
Well, I actually read the book. Most people don't read the Bible.
Okay.
All right. Most people, if they read any of the Bible, they'll just open it and read a scripture or two. But what book have you ever read where you just opened it to the middle and just started reading, starting from chapter 11? Usually you have to start from page 1 to be able to understand what's going on.
Yes.
Most people skip the entire Old Testament. That's what Christianity is about today, is we've done away with the Old Testament. That's the time of old. And now we are only in the New Testament, which is the time of Paul, which Paul went to Rome and taught Rome the teachings of the Israelites and the Hebrews.
Mm.
So when you look at even the names of the Bible, of the books that Paul wrote, Romans, Ephesians, Colossians, these are cities and states in Europe, right? Colossia and Ephesus. So, and Rome, obviously. And it's, again, when you read it, he's teaching the people the ways of the Hebrews or the ways of the Jews, which the term Jew comes from the tribe of Judah, right? Because at that time, it was, I believe it was only two tribes left in Israel, Judah and Benjamin, I believe. So when Paul was going into these areas of the world and teaching the people, he would often talk about them performing orgies and doing debauchery right in the church. He was saying, look, y'all can't do this. Like, y'all going too far. But why were they doing this? Right? Because that is they practice pagan rituals. Now, again, let's fast forward to today. What's going on today? All of these holidays are pagan. You look at Valentine's Day. We just left Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is a pagan day, right? It's a pagan holy day where they would whip the women with whips and chains till they would bleed profusely, and then they would essay the women. And now over time, they would modify it, right? Make it more palatable for the masses of people. But again, people often don't look at the history. People often don't want to look up the history. And like you said, I've been talking about these things for a long time. Many people have talked about these things for a long time, but up until today, if you mentioned these things, people didn't want to know.
That's true.
They would say things like, "Don't ruin my holiday," right?
Which even that word holiday is a perversion of the word holy day.
Correct. Yes. You look at Christmas. Christmas is a pagan holiday, right? But they take parts of one world and one reality and parts of their world, and they mix it, they infuse it, and then they disseminate it to the mass of people so that people, again, can accept it, and so that it can be more palatable, right? So when you say that Christmas is about Jesus, then everybody is happy, right? And people will just easily dismiss the roots of what was going on at the time and why they worshiped on that day, for example, right? What they were doing, why they had trees in the house, right? Why they had lights, and why we put lights up today.
And Jeremiah even talks to you against putting trees in your house. But go ahead.
But see that again, people don't read. Right? They said during slavery, or even after slavery, the best way to keep things from blacks is to put it in a book. Well, we have gone past the slavery of one group or one race of people, and after 1865, they made the international plantation where everybody is a slave, right? And it's funny because people say, oh, slavery, or used to say at least, slavery is no longer existed. You know, it doesn't exist anymore. But I would question that, right? They said the slaves worked from sun up to sundown.
Oh, okay.
9 to 5 is about sun up to sundown.
And it used to be 9 to 5. Now it's 8 to 5 because you got to have an hour lunch in there. So they have you working 8 to 5 or 8 to 6.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you even let's look at the 24 hour of a day,
Okay.
right? If you work for 8 hours, that's 1/3 of your day. Then you're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. That's 2/3 of your day.
Mm,
And
dang.
then you have 8 hours left to do all of the things that you have to do in life, including getting back and forth to work, right?
Mhm.
Eating, all of the uh, 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 self time, right? Raising your children. But what they did is they made people so busy that people didn't have time to investigate what was going on. If you
Wow.
keep the people tired, then they can more easily accept the oppression.
Mhm. Before you go on, can you let's back up just a little bit to Christmas because I think when you think of families coming together, food, holidays, gift giving, it sounds. I mean, it's so beautiful and the music. Um, but the other side of that is actually what if I understand correctly, the Romans had their own way of worship. They were worshiping a whole nother entity, and they added Christ to that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, they they were again were doing sun worship. All right, so the winter solstice is the time of the year when we go from the shortest days of the year, and the day starts to the time of sunlight starts to increase.
Okay.
So during that time, they would put lights up to encourage the sun to come back out.
Mhm.
Right, and so that's the reason why we during holidays or during Christmas, why people put the lights up
To
on their.
entice the sun come back. It's like
Yeah.
Saturnalia worship.
Yes.
Yes. Now you had mentioned about Christmas trees, and I just wanted to show this just quickly how Jeremiah talked against Christmas, well, trees, and this is why some people don't have trees in your house. Jeremiah 10:2, thus saith the Lord, learn not the ways of the heathen, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Number 3, verse 3, for the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with an axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. And I would encourage people to read the rest of that, but it's fascinating. He goes on to talk about they're upright as palm trees, but these trees don't speak. They need to be carried. They cannot go. Don't be afraid of them. They can't not do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord, speaking of the God of the Bible, thou art great, and thy name is great and might. So, why do you think Jeremiah the prophet dedicated several texts, or I would say verses, to warn the people not to put trees in their house?
Because at that time they were dealing with some of the same things, if not all of the same things that we are dealing with today. Right, history
Okay.
does repeat itself, or at least
Mhm.
rhymes, as they say. Right,
Okay.
there's nothing new under the sun. We have this idea that now today we're at the most advanced that the world has ever been, that we know more than the people of old. And in truth, relative to the information that they had, the knowledge that they had, we know very little, if anything at all.
Mm. Mm.
Right? We are blindly following people and things that we don't know about and don't have any understanding of. And so that's the reason why it is important to research, right? The scripture says, study to show thyself approved, right?
It also
Nobody.
says you worship that you know not of. To your point. Good.
Exactly. And again, this is the reason why I encourage people to actually read the scriptures in a historical concept, right?
Mm,
And then a spiritual aspect as well, but not just in a religious context. Because
mhm.
we have to understand that religions were created for control purposes, right? The reason why Paul went to Rome, Rome needed a way to be able to first control their own population.
Mm,
Once they were able to control themselves, their own people, then they were able to spread out.
I see.
And then comes the Roman Empire. But
Wow.
again, they entangled all of their pagan worship with things that could be accepted, and they
Mm.
intertwined it, and then were able to move forward and conquer the world. And the
You know,
scriptures say that the devil would and his legion would run the world for a time period,
mm.
and that is what we have been seeing in our lifetime: is these evil entities ruling the world.
As I hear you talk, I'm thinking about how there are also scriptures that warn people, men, because a lot of time it's written to the man, not to marry strange women. Can you
Because you,
speak to what that means?
well, when you marry stranger women that are not from your culture, you have to accept, or when you marry anybody who is not from your culture, you have to accept certain things that is normal in their culture.
Mhm.
And even you open yourself up to potentially having to accept their gods, right? Look
Wow.
at King Solomon,
Okay.
right? He had 1,000 wives, or 700 wives and 300 concubines. He made temples to all of their gods, right?
Mm.
But now uh King Solomon actually wrote the Satanic Bible. He he accepted the ways of the heathens, of these other people, who their ways were not like unto our ways. And so then he was also known to be a sorcerer, right?
Mm.
They say that he had a ring where he was able to control demons and
Mm.
use these demons in order to build the temples.
Mm.
So you have to be careful about what you accept, and you have to study before you do things. You have to know what you're doing. Because if you do things without knowing, then you could very well find yourself in a conundrum. You could find yourself compromised based off of things that you would not have normally accepted.
This goes deep because it's not just like a marriage, whether it's a man or a woman. There, it's not just about culture and their ways, their religion, but also it used to be a time you had to examine the bloodline of the person. Even when I married your dad, for those that don't know, Dex Lattimore is my son. We were just coming out of the time where you had to take a blood test. We took blood tests, but I think that was the last time, because you literally had to take a blood test to ensure that your blood was compatible. And
Exactly.
and further, before, like, even your grandmother, your dad's mom, ensured that my bloodline, my lineage, would be compatible with your dad's bloodline and lineage. They were really serious about that, the elders. So the lineage, the literal blood and blood type, had to align with the person that you were enter into covenant with. Whether it's, I'm not even talking about a legal marriage or certified marriage, that too, but covenant marriages. If you had common law marriages, that it was that deep to them. Bloodline,
Absolutely.
blood type needed to be compatible.
Because even if you think culturally, if husband and wife are from different cultures, and these cultures have different ways of living. It say the husband and wife don't accept the other culture. That's fine. That's one thing. But what about the children?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now you can easily confuse the children, but also when you understand um, how to conquer people, right? When these people came onto the planet and conquered the world, the first thing that they did was to take the women
Mm-hmm.
and impregnate the women, take the children, and turn the children against the mother's lineage. You look at through here in the American history, they did that with the Native Americans. In Africa, in Asiatic world, they did the same thing. So their armies were armies of mixed breed people.
Hmm.
And because the children accepted the father's culture, it became acceptable to them to destroy their own native culture.
Okay, because the father was the conqueror that made
Yes,
it with the women on the land. Oh, got it.
yes,
Which could
yes,
be a reason. I don't mean to get off too much. That the people in power allow all these people from all over the planet to come into the Americas or into other lands. It's a way of conquering because you know
absolutely.
they're going to end up sleeping with the women and producing baby. Then the people of power who brought these people in can control the woman and the child. I'm sorry, I'm making the connection here.
That's correct.
It is an
When you
act
talk,
of war. Go ahead.
yes, and see, that's the thing is war is not only on the battlefield. War is fought in many different facets,
Mm,
right? War is marriage, right? When the Europeans
mm.
first came to America, they married the women first.
Okay.
They learned the ways of the people. They didn't come with the swords initially.
Mm,
When they conquered Africa, they came with the Bible, right? In order to taint the minds of the people.
mm,
And once you accept their ways, then you accept their domination.
mm.